History happened everywhere. A random country and a random time with a topic pulled from the hat. Then a week for one of us to dive into the internet to find out all that we can. Welcome to History Happened Everywhere. Hi, I'm Ryan, and this is Pete.
Greetings.
Right, so this week it was Pete's turn to tell me all about the history he's learned in the past 7 days.
Yes, Ryan, it was a really broad topic this week, so I've been uphill and down dale online in the quest for information.
And have you found it?
There's just so much. I think focusing things was the real challenge this week.
Focusing things. All right, well, let's remind ourselves of what it was that you pulled from that last week. Right, I am opening the doors later.
All right. Ryan?
Yep.
What is my country?
Your country for next week is Sweden.
Sweden. I feel good about that, but also nervous about the next two bits we're about to do. If it's late 90s pornography, then whammo, I am sorted. Okay, and what is the date, Ryan?
The date is AD 1000 to 1100.
Oh man, really?
Yeah, I think that's okay. Do you want to know your theme?
I don't, but yes, I have to know about it. Go on.
Okay. The theme is nature.
Nature. Oh, that felt like a get out of jail free moment.
I think that's good. We're going to move, hopefully that moves us away from people.
So to recap, Sweden, AD 1000 to 1100, nature.
Okay, so Sweden. Exciting. I've got a feeling 1000 AD, I'm feeling Vikings. Is that close?
Have I got Vikings for you?
All right, cool. Well, tell me all about it. I want to know everything.
Okay, everything. Firstly, with a warning, it's a really big difference between a Swedish naturist and a Swedish naturalist if you're going to be Googling this kind of thing. But yes, the country we're talking about is officially the Kingdom of Sweden. It's a kingdom.
Okay.
It's a Nordic country. In reality, it is in fact between Norway and Finland, and it's part of what looks like, when you look at the map of Europe, there's a kind of looming sock puppet coming down to eat Denmark. You could call it the lower half of the big overhanging penis of Europe if you prefer. You may not prefer. Well, which brings me neatly to size matters. It's about 450,000 kilometres.
Okay.
That's in the official currency of History Happened Everywhere. It's 4/5 of a France. Very nearly a France. It's a big place. But population-wise, quite thin. There's about 10 million people.
Okay. That is thin.
Right? That's less than Greater London.
Wow.
Country-wise, that puts it between Honduras and Azerbaijan.
Wow, really? Okay. Do you know what? I thought there were, if I had to guess, I would have said 45 million.
Right? I'd have said something similar. You kind of think of it as a reasonably urban place, but actually it's really, it's got a few population centres, but also a heck of a lot of forest.
Mind you, 10 million very sexy people is probably enough. They don't need to have more sexy people.
I think this is definitely a case of the quality and the quantity being separate things. So what's Sweden famous for? I'll let you give us a few obvious ones.
Sexy people.
Yes, absolutely.
Football team.
Oh, really? I didn't really think of that, but I'll take that.
Yeah, Swedish football team.
IKEA, obviously.
Oh, yeah, but I always get confused with IKEA. I don't know whether it's Danish or Swedish or what, but I guess it's quite yellow and blue in there, isn't it? So that's probably the giveaway.
It is, absolutely.
And the Swedish meatballs they sell.
Precisely, and meatballs were actually the other thing I had down as things you think of when you think of Sweden.
Yeah, well, so if you'd given me time, I'd have got there.
You'd have got there, I'm confident. But we don't have that kind of time. ABBA, there we go. That was the other one I had. You made it, sir.
Yes.
Let's talk some famous Swedes.
Okay.
Some you may or may not have heard of. Avicii.
Yeah, didn't he die recently?
He did, sadly, because I really liked his music.
Yeah.
Because I'm down with the kids.
Sure.
Just
Swedish,
to
eh?
demonstrate that even further, PewDiePie.
Yeah, YouTuber.
He is a YouTuber. I'll be honest, I don't really know what he does. I just know he's famous as a YouTuber, so he got on the list.
Yeah, my guess is he's probably on Twitch now as well. Seems like all the cool kids are now on Twitch as opposed to YouTube.
Yes, I'm sure. I know about these things,
All right,
and I agree.
On.
Let's go back to more of my time. Alfred Nobel.
Of the prize?
Prize-winning fame, yes.
Of the Peace Prize?
Yeah.
Nobel's Peace Prize.
Exactly.
Is it Nobel's Peace Prize? No.
The Nobel Peace Prize.
Nobel Peace Prize.
Or the Nobel. There are various Nobel Prizes for literature and science and all sorts.
Okay.
He was a dynamite manufacturer. Side note.
Was he?
Yeah. Carl Linnaeus, we may have talked about before, I'm not sure. He was the father of taxonomy. So when you
it's when you stuff a dead animal.
Well, it's not. No, that's taxidermy. Taxonomy is the identification of things. So if you call a dog, a wolf, lupus, canis lupus, or whatever those fancy Latin names are, that's in a system that Carl Linnaeus invented essentially, and is a version of which is still in use today.
Okay. That's less exciting, isn't it, than ABBA or...
Okay, so I'll bring it back. Don't worry. I'm going to get my credentials back.
I mean, I don't want to dismiss it. It's super useful, but it's not as glamorous as
this next one, I'm going to... you won't know to start with, but I'll bring it home.
Okay.
Marcus Persson.
No, I don't know who that is.
He created Minecraft.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. And this is a nature podcast, so Greta Thunberg.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Trying to save
the
environment.
She's Swedish, is she?
She is. So I have to say, it feels like this is a country that's kind of punching above its weight in terms of its population versus the famous people that have come out of it. 10 million people, the size of a good chunky city.
Yep.
And there's all these people. Oh, another one, Anders Celsius, the inventor of Celsius.
Okay,
so
the
there's
temperature.
Scientists and there's a lot of famous people. Bjorn Borg was
Why
Swedish.
don't the Americans use Celsius? Why do they use Fahrenheit?
Why do they use all imperial measures? They don't really keep with the times, do they?
No, I'm just curious. You don't know.
No, it's all feet and inches still as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. But was there a point where Celsius came out and said, hey, new way of measuring temperature? And some people were like, yeah, that's cool, let's use that. And then others were just like, you know what, we're fine.
Others being America.
Well, I guess other people are using Fahrenheit, right?
I mean, Celsius is like anything, it's just another dimension of the metric system, presumably. I don't know if it's introduced at the same time in the UK anyway as the metric system in general. Feels like it should be. It's another 1 to 100 sensible system, isn't it?
Yeah.
But anyway, more thanks to the lovely Swedes for giving us the Celsius system, which makes a lot more sense than Fahrenheit.
Totally.
So then that's the where we are. And now let's go to the when, right? We're talking 1000 to 1100. In the UK, a couple of kings you may have heard of, up to about 1035, was King Canute.
Okay.
Do you know, ringing any bells, King Canute?
Yeah, there's a story about King Canute, isn't there?
Trying to hold back the tide. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm going to do
It was that or turn everything to gold. There's two kings that I remember. One that could turn everything to gold and one that tried to hold back the tide.
Well, this was the tidal guy.
Okay.
And I'm going to have to do a brief digression because this is one of my historic pet peeves. How do you interpret the story of King Canute? What's your recollection of it?
King Canute sits on his throne in the sea and the tide's coming in. He says, I'm going to stop the tide coming in because I'm more powerful than God.
Right, exactly. That's how most people know this story.
Okay.
That it's King Canute getting super egotistical and trying to hold back the tide and looking silly because he failed.
Right.
Well, that's not what happened. What happened was he was fed up of everyone being over fawning, and he was quite a religious guy.
Yeah.
So he went in and said, look, I can't hold back the tide.
Okay.
Sat in the sea, said, don't come in tide, and the tide came in anyway.
Right.
And he was saying, look, guys, this is my lesson to you. Only God has the power to hold back the tides. I'm just a normal mortal king, and God is the true King of Kings. But history has somehow taken this and gone, look at this idiot. He's trying to hold back the tide, which is horribly unfair on the poor guy. So I wanted to correct that for the record.
I mean, it doesn't help that his name's Canute, right?
Canute does not help at all. He is one anagram away from trouble, isn't he? But I can probably help you better understand when we are by saying 1066.
Oh, yeah, the Battle of Hastings.
Exactly. Harold II, last Saxon king, being overtaken by William the Conqueror, sometimes known as William the Bastard, depending on who you're asking. And he started building the Tower of London, if you're thinking about buildings that might be started about that time.
Oh, really? That was then, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Up in Scotland.
This is the period we're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
So up in Scotland, Macbeth is murdering Duncan.
In a fictional...
No, he's a real king.
Macbeth was a real king?
Yeah, real king. He found 1040. Macbeth killed Duncan. It's a history play.
Okay.
That's a bit of a confusing reference because, of course, you see a lot of Shakespeare plays presented with everyone dressed in Shakespearean type clothes rather than 1040 type clothes. So probably stick with Harold and William the Conqueror and you'll be in good shape. So that's the UK. So that's when we're talking kind of medieval. I don't know if it counts as medieval, but anyway, Haroldish, Saxonish. In the world, it's the end of the Kingdom of Ghana in Africa. Did you know Ghana was a kingdom in Africa?
Nope.
Neither did I. I also didn't know that, interestingly, the Kingdom of Ghana at this time, do you know where Ghana is today on a map?
So on the west side?
Yeah, sort of next to Nigeria on the west side. That's not where the Kingdom of Ghana was. It was substantially north of that, apparently. But the Moroccans invaded them and put paid to that empire.
So what happened?
Well, the Moroccans showed up and said, we're invading, and that's as much as I know. Well, because this is about Sweden.
No, I get that, but they must have just moved south. And then
what happened with the Ghana name?
Yeah.
I suspect it's a historic reference rather than this was Ghana.
So the people didn't just fine, you can have it, Moroccans, we're going to go and take
We're moving
this bit
Ghana.
of land.
We're going to take Ghana and put it down here, maybe.
Well, that's what it sounds like.
Well, we'll have to see if we can roll that.
All right.
If it's Ghana now, it's going to look well rigged, isn't it?
Yeah.
And in Japan, in 1008, Murasaki Shikibu finishes The Tale of Genji, which is the world's first novel.
That was really impressive.
Right.
The way you pronounced that.
It was
Pete.
pretty smooth.
That was really good. That was almost like
Take two.
Almost like a take two.
So in Northern Europe, which is what we're talking about, Vikings.
Not just in Northern Europe, though, right? They were all over the shop. Weren't they in like North America and
they travelled
around, didn't they?
They travelled everywhere, but they were from Northern Europe. So,
okay, fair point.
Actually, you make a good point. So Christianity is being spread amongst Vikings now. So Scandinavia as a whole is starting to convert. But there were Vikings all over the place. They're raiding the UK for Danegeld, as it was known, which is gold to give the Danes. But then, as you rightly point out, Greenland's very own Viking Leif Erikson sets out and discovers North America.
Yeah.
Lands in Newfoundland.
Leif Erikson.
Very cool. So that's the where and that's the when. So now we can have a closer look at our country, which is Sweden, and our topic, which is nature.
Cool.
Kirstner hennes massarna tog all under de grønne lene. De skal for evigt i himmeribo. Han rider så stille igennem London med hende.
Right, let's start with the big stuff. Nature. Nature's everything. This is where I struggle a little bit.
What's it not?
I guess things that people make is kind of my distinction that I made.
No, that's a good point.
So let me take you back, way back, flipping ages ago.
Okay.
Several periods of ice ages. So this is a massive, kilometers thick sheet of ice spreading across Sweden. And what that did, it was it kind of ground at the landscape, giving it a lot of rounded kind of landscape. So U-shaped valleys, if you remember your geography lessons at school, V-shaped valleys are formed by rivers and U-shaped valleys are formed by glaciers.
Okay.
And essentially you've got quite a smoothed off country, essentially, that's been sandpapered down by these kilometre thick ice sheets.
Moving ice sheets.
Exactly, because the ice sheets 10,000 years ago kind of withdrew.
Yeah.
Makes them sound like invaders, but they fell back.
I mean, when you say kilometres thick, right, it's really hard to imagine how deep.
Well, and sorry, I should be clear, 3 kilometres thick.
And what's that in miles?
That's, I don't know, mile and a half, a bit more.
Mile and a half.
of just ice.
Just solid ice above you. You think how heavy a bag of ice is.
Well, what an amazingly convenient comment to make, actually. So just to stop off quickly on the U-shaped valleys.
Yeah.
I've always, I remember when I was at school and they said U-shaped valleys in geography, and I saw the pictures and it was like, is it a U, V? It was
very
pretty weak.
similar.
But there's a place called Ep.13 in Sweden, or translates as the Laponian Gate. So Lapland, the Lap part.
Okay.
That's a U-shaped valley. It looks amazing. It's just outside Abisko National Park. It's in northern Sweden. And basically, when you see a picture of it, it's like this ridge of hills. And then it's like some massive giant has just got a big ice cream scoop and scooped a perfect U out of it. It's absolutely amazing.
Wow. Okay. We'll put that on the website.
We should do.
hhepodcast.com.
And I have to give a shout out to the R Sweden subreddit for that was one of the things the guys there pointed me in the direction of in terms of interesting Swedish nature.
Cool. Thanks, Reddit.
So to go back to your point about heavy ice.
Yes.
There's another area of beautiful nature, which so much of Sweden it turns out is, which is the high coast. This is Högkusten, with profound apologies to Swedish people for that pronunciation.
Wait, high coast and Högkusten.
Högkusten.
That sounds very similar to high coast.
Well, the high coast is the translation.
Yeah. Well, I can see why.
And my Swedish is pretty good, as you can tell.
It's like if you were to say to someone, say high coast in Swedish, you'd go, Högkusten.
You'd get close to that, wouldn't you? So 9,600 years ago, 3 kilometers of ice was pushing you down.
Yeah.
It retreats and the whole land just more or less creates a big sigh of relief and it starts to rise.
Right.
So over the 10,000 years, this land has risen nearly 300 meters.
Wait,
so
what? So this is like if you push a cork down in water, right? It's, submerged, and then you lift your finger up and it just rises right out of the water.
That's exactly it. So
amazing.
And this is still happening. It's going about 8 millimeters a year. This land is rising.
Still rising.
Still rising. This is known as post-glacial rebound.
11,000 years later.
Still going. It's, slow.
Wow. Okay. That is a brilliant fact.
Right.
I like that
so
one.
essentially, the whole of Sweden is on the rebound.
Oh, you've been waiting all week to say that.
Just came to me astonishing. I've written much worse jokes than that.
8 millimeters a year. I wonder how much they have to take that into account for buildings and pipes and stuff, like underground pipes.
Question. And it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 2000. And I think part of the answer to your question might be, and I don't know how much has been built there because it's this amazing trail. So I know you and I really want to go hiking sometime. Yeah. There's a rather nice 130 kilometer long coastal trail you can walk along.
Nice.
And you're coming along and looking at what are beaches essentially.
Yeah.
But, tens to hundreds of meters in the air because what was the beach has just been rising and rising for
That's amazing.
Thousands of years.
Should we do it? Should we do the Högkusten?
It looks really beautiful. So
let's do that.
I'm for it.
All right. You've heard it here first.
So, and that was another our Sweden contribution. So that was really helpful. Thanks, guys.
I've got to say, though, 8 millimeters a year, 8 millimeters doesn't sound very much, but a decade passes. That's a significant shift.
It's really moving, isn't it? That's motoring in geological terms.
I mean, maybe you don't need to worry about pipes and stuff like that because you just go with it. It's not like it's all shifting at different points,
I don't know if there's a point. There must be a point which isn't rising. So I suppose at that join you'd have a problem. But
yeah, I suppose so. Probably the sea, though.
Then again, there are cliffs that are eroding at similar rate in various places and people just have to move their houses, don't they?
They do. What, you just go to IKEA and buy a new house?
Well, yes. Flat pack house, please.
Didn't they do that? I think they did that at some point, a flat pack house.
It wouldn't surprise me. They did everything. I bet it was really nice as well.
Hello, this is the voice of the internet. IKEA and Skanska had been offering sustainable, low-cost flat-pack homes since 1997. Known as Boklok, more than 11,000 have been sold and built throughout Sweden, Finland, Denmark, Norway and soon to come to England in 2021. A small apartment can cost as little as £7,500 and be built within a single day. Thank you.
All done by Allen key. That's how you get in through the front door. An Allen key.
Ah, nice.
No? You're just going to say nice and shake your head.
Just weep gently in the corner.
How you get into your IKEA house is with an Allen key. I think that's funny. Don't leave it in silence.
Okay, do you want to do it again? Do it again. I'm ready for it this time.
Because you're...
So you could have a flat pack house from IKEA.
Don't patronise me!
All right, moving on. Let's move on. But yeah, IKEA, it's hardly surprising they had an IKEA because they have got wood. Boy, have they got wood. Have a guess of how much today of Sweden is forest.
In a percentage? Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm going to go with 45%.
57.
Oh, I wasn't far off though, eh?
That's pretty good, actually. It was a good guess.
I actually, I was under-guessing that. I thought you were going to say something like 85% or something, and I was going to go, oh, wow.
No. So sorry to disappoint you, but I still think that's a heck of a lot of woods. But imagine at 1000 AD, which is our period, it would have been loads more.
Right.
And it's actually did a couple of things. There's something of a barrier to invading armies.
Yeah.
Just don't want to go through just endless woods.
I mean, surely it was like 95% wood at that point.
Yeah, it must have been, because it's also one thing I read suggested it was one of the reasons Vikings liked to travel by sea, because just trekking through woods was such a pain.
Yeah.
So another aspect of Sweden is islands. Sweden's got bajillions of islands.
That's funny. I would never have thought that.
It's one of those, you don't think of it. You think of like Indonesia and various archipelagos. But in fact, in 2013,
Yeah.
a report said there was 267,570 islands.
Wow, that's a lot of islands.
That is a lot of islands. Only less than 1,000 of them actually have people on them.
I was going to, yeah, that was my next question. I wonder if they're like, I mean, they must be, right? Celebrities and stuff that own a little Swedish island.
Well, I did. I've always fancied the idea of owning an island, so I did Google this. And,
I thought you might. I would have done too.
I got some island envy, but yeah, for about half a million quid,
Okay.
you could get a low end island. Up to
So $1 million.
If you're spending a couple of £1 million, you
Okay.
could get a pretty tasty island.
That's not bad, is it?
Not bad at all. So even in the Stockholm archipelago alone,
Yeah.
24,000 islands.
Amazing.
Right?
I hope they're all named and that they've all got like IKEA style names, like Rocky and Oatkrupp.
Anyway, islands, lots of islands.
Yeah.
And Northern Lights, Aurora Borealis.
I mean, I'd have to climb up a tree because I'm guessing.
Yes, exactly. It's like, maybe that's why they didn't notice it too much, because it's just like, I can't see anything through this bloody forest. From about September in the far north, you can start to see it. The sky's got these pinks and greens and purple colours dancing in the sky. So what causes the Northern Lights, you wonder? Well, solar wind. Solar wind carries particles of protons and electrons. That comes over towards Earth. It hits the Earth's atmosphere, and then the energy is transferred into the things. And when they're excited, they give off these colours.
Wait, I feel like you're missing a step there. When they're excited, they
Because
produce
they hit
colours.
the atmosphere, and that.
So the more excited they are, they become a different colour?
Yeah, they create energy, and then the energy comes out in the form of colours, light and colours.
Okay. But what differentiates a green colour and a pinky colour?
The gases in the atmosphere. Oxygen will give the green, and nitrogen will give blue or red. So, related to our Viking friends, there are a couple of people. There are a couple of theories that perhaps the Northern Lights were the origin of the concept of Bifrost, the rainbow bridge between Earth and the heavens.
Like in the Marvel films?
Very much like in the Marvel films. There is a lot of other people, though, who say they just meant actual rainbows rather than the Northern Lights.
I mean, you can see why that would inspire folklore or myth.
I kind of believe in gods clashing to looking at it now, knowing it's not true. It's certainly more exciting than protons being
But it's true, though. You look at the nature around you. Like, we were in Northern Ireland, a year or so ago, and we went to the Giant's Causeway, and you look at the natural formations there, those hexagonal sort of blocks, plinths, and they look man-made. They don't look natural. And so you can see how years ago, even if they didn't necessarily believe it, human imagination is such and so powerful that you're able to envision this long lost tribe of giants that created a road from there, the giant causeway, all the way across the sea.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't help but start creating stories around these really striking aspects of nature, can you? I mean, the daily stuff, well, that's a tree, so fine. You don't really think about it too much. But when you see something like the Aurora Borealis, you kind of want to tell a story about it, don't you?
Yeah, and there's part of our psyche, our makeup, that sees shapes in things as well. So like you might see a tree and you see a face in the bark, or you see a cloud that looks like a bunny rabbit or whatever.
It's storytelling, isn't it?
Storytelling, exactly.
And there is another story, which is that the Northern Lights are a reflection from the armour of the Valkyries up in heaven.
Hey, that's cool.
Yeah, right?
The Valkyries were the warrior women, right?
Yes, they would take your soul if you died in battle up to Valhalla.
Nice.
That's the big sweeping stuff. That's the landscape at a very high level. Let's talk a bit more day to day. What do our Vikings do for a living? Well, most Vikings, you think of them as plundering and pillaging largely, but most of them are actually farmers. Pillaging was a side gig. They have very warm summers in Sweden, but very cold winters.
Okay.
And generally you'd have your own just one farm or just small groups of farm, and you'd have to be quite self-sufficient. So you're not talking about big towns. You're talking about small communities that have to provide everything for themselves.
Can I just ask, and you might not know the answer to this, but where are we in terms of Vikings? Are we towards the end? Is this at the beginning of Vikings?
Well, it's the end of pagan Vikingism because they're now being Christianized.
Okay. Are they? So they're traveling around now. They're, like you say, they're over in America and because they went all the way down to the Mediterranean, didn't they? And
yeah, they famously formed I think it was a Roman, or maybe in Constantinople. There was a unit of Norse guardsmen that were elite warriors.
So all the way to Turkey. So they
really made it around.
But is that where we're talking now in terms of Vikings, or is this still early day Vikings?
Well, that was Constantinople. So what was that? The end of the Roman Empire was in the 400s. So
okay, so this is 600 years later.
I don't want to say the end of the Viking Age because I don't know what happened after the Viking Age, to be honest.
Right.
What happened after Vikings?
I guess they just stopped being Vikings. Just took off their little horned hats.
Presumably we went medieval at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so, right? But no, just curious because I was thinking of this timeline, and you're like they're all farmers, and I'm just trying to picture what that looked like. But okay, yep, many kingdoms.
I think this is pre-kingdom, really. I think you want to think of this as in the same way as
tribes.
The UK wasn't really a clear kingdom. There were, I think you're bordering a period where tribes then are about to become identifiable nations.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because like in England, you'd have Wessex and you'd have the others.
Exactly. Those other guys, Mercia and such.
Yeah, so I'm guessing it was probably similar in Sweden.
Yeah, I feel like it's just beginning to tribal life is beginning to coalesce into some form of identifiable national life.
Cool.
I might be wrong. Write in if I'm wrong. So what were these guys growing on their farm? Oats, barley and wheat, kind of classic stuff.
Yeah.
They had to grow hay because obviously the very cold winters meant there was no grazing in winter. So you pretty much had to farm for your life during the summer months and then just hope it lasted through the winter, which was probably reasonably unpleasant because you'd have to bring your livestock inside to survive the winters as well.
Yeah.
They grind their grains into flour and make porridge, and they made ale, apparently. Mm-hmm. There was one attempt to reproduce Viking booze, which came out with a 9% malty kind of booze.
What, recently?
The internet recently, yes.
Yeah. No, that's fine. No, as opposed to, in the 1600s or something.
Yeah, but I did find another source that did the same thing, and they were bit more skeptical about this sort of very specific result these other guys got, and they said, well, somewhere between 2.6 and 13% you could get your beer up to. So
if you think about Belgians and you think of their Belgian beers, which are strong, some of them are up there in the 9%. I do wonder how much sort of recipes sort of have passed down from that period.
Potentially. The other thing to bear in mind is
Belgium's not far away.
No, but beer was also a way of drinking safe water. Certainly in England, I think this is more or less Shakespearean, small beer was a very, very weak beer.
Yeah.
Because the beer making process involved heating the water. So beer was actually much safer than water.
Okay.
So I don't know how much of that was influencing your Vikings decision. Maybe they just like drinking loads of booze.
Yeah.
I got sympathy with either of those points of view.
I mean, why not? That and mushrooms. I'm sure they had mushrooms in that forest. There's some wacky mushrooms, I'm sure.
I bet they were doing some stuff. They kept cows, sheep, and pigs and chickens, so normal farm life, I suppose.
Yeah.
One of the unfortunate finds I discovered, excavations of Viking cesspits. I don't know, presumably the junior archaeologist gets to do the cesspit. Evidence that most Vikings had intestinal parasites.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
so the
not
food
brilliant.
wasn't being cooked properly.
I guess not. The farms would move, though. Apparently, every generation you'd move your farm 100 yards down the road, which is kind of an early crop rotation.
It's like the Ghana technique.
Yeah, exactly. This is not working. Let's move over there. What do you think a Viking would keep as a pet?
Dogs. Cats.
Yeah.
Um,
Bears. Bears is what you're grasping for there?
No, it wasn't.
Ah, well, it should have been because it turns out,
Kept them as pets.
like a bit of a bear as a pet, the Vikings apparently. Now, I found this in a
Not polar bears.
thing about Iceland Vikings, so I'm assuming to some extent there is similarity between all the Vikings.
Okay.
So there's a bit of a guess in stretching it to Sweden, but apparently it was quite common to have bears, not just special. Polar bears, to go back to Iceland,
Yeah.
were a gift you would give a king.
You've got to catch one first.
Well, yes, that's why only kings get them, I suppose.
Imagine how brave you'd have to be as to not only just face a polar bear, but also to try and capture it, bring it alive.
Well, I don't think they caught I think they killed the parents and nicked the cubs was the method for getting your polar bear in house.
Do you know what? That makes a lot more sense.
So I got you this polar bear. Oh, is he tame? No, he is not.
It took us about 500 goes and half the tribe until we realised why not just take a cub.
This feels like the worst episode of Taskmaster ever. Let's see how this band got on. Oh, they're all mauled to death. So apparently in Iceland, this became quite a problem. Too many people with bears, and then it made it illegal in the end to import bears because people's bears were mauling people.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine so. I mean, I'm guessing they were black bears.
Brown bears in Sweden.
Okay. But, I mean, we're not talking sort of those American Kodiak bears, right? These aren't
These
8 feet tall.
These are cuddly
rip your
Paddington
head off.
fellas. Well, not quite, but certainly more of the sort of demeanour and size and temperament of a black bear, but they're brown.
Still with the strength to do damage, but...
we'll talk a bit more about bears later, so hold your bear questions and we'll come back to them. But as we know, excellent pets.
can you imagine? And also probably quite warm to like sleep next to.
Yeah, cuddle a bear. That'd be
Right?
lovely, wouldn't it? Yeah. Those cold nights.
Probably where the teddy bear thing comes from.
Beware of the bear signs would presumably be quite effective.
Beware the bear.
Actually, that reminds me, I
Over there.
once met a guy who had a bear act in a circus, and he kept his bears in a trailer.
Every story should begin with I once knew him from my time in the circus.
When I was in the circus. And he had his bears in a trailer, and it wasn't a sealed trailer. There were like little gaps in the trailer.
Right.
And he had to stake this little mangy dog outside, because if he didn't have the dog out, which would growl at people and prevent them approaching the trailer, without the dog, they would apparently very frequently put their hands into the bear cage. Into the bear cage. It's like, for some reason, they were frightened of the dog,
but not the giant
but
bears.
the big bear, not a problem.
Wow, can you imagine? Oof,
Yes,
that'd have your arm off in seconds.
Yes, and certainly a finger would not last long. A mere snack to your brown bear.
Yum, yum.
But as we know, don't forget, excellent pets.
Yeah. They mainly eat berries and stuff though, don't they?
Well, yes, but stop asking bear questions.
That was a statement.
Oh, fair enough.
Really?
You can make your bear statements.
Yeah.
So nature, just to pull it back to nature briefly, was also, because we were in the 1100s, 1000s, 1100s, they're the source of everything. You have to find your things in nature. You can't go to Tesco's for stuff. So I'm just going to talk about a couple of bits of things you might use in nature.
Okay.
I want to talk, so for clothes and your textiles, would be flax or hemp.
Okay. What's the difference?
Different plants. Hemp is obviously plant you smoke, I guess.
Is it the same? Is it just that one's got that special kind of oil in it?
Well, they're different plants, but they have similar sort of fibrous properties.
Okay.
So flax. So we're going to talk flax facts.
Flax facts.
Flax facts.
I like it.
Flax is also known as linseed. So you may be familiar with linseed oil.
Well, I mean, I've heard of it. What does it do?
You rub it on your cricket bat.
I mean, it's got to have other uses. It can't possibly be just for cricket bats.
I think you're probably right. That's just the only one that leaps to mind for me.
I wonder what the special properties are that only linseed oil would be the proper thing for a cricket bat. It's got to be something to do with the ball hitting the bat.
Absorbency, I'd imagine a bit of flexibility in a bat's got to be good, otherwise it snaps maybe, keeps it moist.
Gives it a little sexy sheen.
A sexy sheen, which you want on a cricket bat. So the Latin name, Linum usitatissimum, translates as very useful.
Okay. For linseed oil?
No, this is flax.
Okay, right.
The plant itself.
Yeah. Cool. So tell me about its uses.
So it's got very strong fibers. This is why it's good. It creates a thread which is really absorbent. It conducts heat well. It's quite soft and it's cool and pleasant on the skin. So it's good for warm weather and quite good as undergarments. I'm reliably assured by the internet. So flax pants.
How come we're not wearing flax pants? Is cotton just better?
I suspect cotton is better. They didn't have cotton, so they were using flax.
Yeah, no, I just wonder whether or not, if it was that good.
I'll see what I can do in terms of purchasing you a pair of flax pants and we'll report back.
You buy me some flax pants. I will wear them for the show and we can take a picture of them, me wearing them, put them on the website, hhepodcast.com.
You'll do anything for hits, won't you? So I'm just going to really quickly, for our post-apocalyptic purposes, tell you how to make some flax cloth.
Cool.
All you got to do is, there's just a few stages to do: growing, rippling, retting, breaking, scutching, heckling, spinning, and you're done.
That doesn't sound very simple, I'll be honest.
No, there are a lot of steps. So I'll take you through them real quick because it is quite interesting, I think, hopefully. So the growing, obviously you grow the flax.
Yep.
The rippling is you kind of comb it to get all the seeds and the extraneous stuff off to get the stalky bits.
Bugs.
Retting is a bacterial process where basically the plant is held together. Obviously it's a single thing, but it's actually got lots of fibers that are kind of glued together by pectin and lignin, apparently. And so you need to break those down. So what you do is you have to submerge your stalks in water and they float. So you've got to weigh them down for up to a couple of weeks. So they're kind of rotting almost.
Okay.
So that the fibers start to come apart, which is apparently stinky and disgusting.
I was going to say, I'm sure that smells disgusting.
Yes, it is. And apparently you have to take them out and then rinse them very quickly because they're super gross.
Then
Then there's the breaking, which means you just sort of break up all the fibers because they've all been sort of slightly separated now. Then the scutching, which is kind of scraping them against a board to just clean up the fibery part. It removes the woody bit, so you get rid of all the wood and you're just left with these nice clean fibers. The heckling is you draw the fibers through like a comb, straightens them out and gets rid of any excess crud. And then you spin it like thread and bingo, you got yourself some thread to weave some cloth.
I think about that period and I think everyone's wearing wool.
There's a reason why you think that. Well, partly because obviously wool is a more familiar cloth and you don't really get flax pants. The flax needs a slightly base environment to be preserved in, and wool is okay in a slightly acidic environment. And most of the places where we recover cloth, because cloth very rarely survives, it tends to rot away, tend to be in acidic environments. So you retain a lot more, you discover a lot more wool stuff than you do flax stuff.
Is that
because
right?
the conditions that you find these things in tend to favour the preservation of wool and not favour the preservation of flax. So that might be part of why we always think wool.
Thank you for that. That was really interesting. You've surprised yourself. I see it on your face.
I did, because I read that and thought, that's interesting, but I won't bring it along.
You see? Yeah, you can never discount these things.
No, right? So ropes-wise, I don't want to bore you. You can use flax, obviously.
Yeah.
Very useful, as we know.
Sure.
You can also make rope. I was disgusted and excited to learn, out of seal skin.
Oh, that means a lot of seals.
Yes. So basically, you catch and kill your seal, and you chop off like a kind of a boob tube of its skin, and you scrape all the blubber off, and then you cut like a strip, depending on how big you want your rope, I suppose, in a spiral. So all of that boob tube gets just sliced in a spiral, so you end up with a really long, inch-wide piece of
that makes sense.
Seal skin. And you dry that out, and you can use that as rope. Okay, so that's nature's bounty, all the things that you need to live,
Yep.
provided by the land. Let's talk about, I'm going to get my David Attenborough on. We're going to go animals.
History happened everywhere. Animals of Sweden. With Pete and Brian.
So firstly, first animal,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to go with something that makes an excellent pet.
Bear.
Bears, brown bears.
History happened everywhere. Animals of Sweden. The bruna bear.
These are reasonably big fellas. They can weigh up to 350 kilos, a big male.
Okay.
That's
What you weigh, isn't it?
Well, that's you cheeky. That's the size of a Harley Davidson Heritage Softail motorbike.
Okay.
So, having ridden one of those and not having ridden a bear, that's pretty heavy. They are big, big and heavy. They'll eat anything really: berries, bees, voles,
Anything beginning with B.
bears. They are an alphabetically limited creature. They will hunt and catch bigger animals. But in summer, it may surprise you to learn,
Yeah.
their main food is
Humans.
ants.
Ah, okay. I was going to say honey, actually.
No, it is not. It's ants. They dig up ant hills in the forest and then munch down on the ants. And they eat roots and shoots and plant stuff as well. So they'll munch down on anything pretty much. Viking connection. Have you heard of berserkers?
Yeah. They were the angry warriors.
Yeah, exactly. They're super crazy, go into battle. Now, there's a bit of difference of opinion as to whether a berserk translates as bear shirt, with a meaning the animal,
Okay.
or bear meaning naked, and these guys are running into battle naked. So, but
Either way, that's awesome.
you would be nervous in any event whether the man
Yeah.
is wearing a bear or totally stark naked. In any event, I do not want to enter battle with this character.
Yeah, the etymology of berserker, that makes sense.
Yeah, so these guys obviously were absolute nutbags by all accounts. They would channel the fury of the bear and stab you in the face.
Yeah, fair enough.
But the main thing I wanted to get to, Ryan, was to help you in your survival in this post-apocalyptic world, which is what do you do when you're attacked by a bear?
Well, okay, so there's a thing here, isn't it? If it's black, fight back. If it's brown, lay down. And if it's white, you kiss your ass good night.
Unless you're a king, in which case it might just be a present. You don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
So yes, so I did find one website.
Is that true, though?
What?
Was that what you were looking for?
Well, I'm getting there.
Okay, right.
So I found one website which gave us this really, I thought this was a priceless piece of advice.
Yeah.
I'm going to quote it. You should signal as soon as possible your peaceful intentions.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't specify how you do that. I don't know. Maybe you immediately thought of something, but I'm like, how am I to be expressing to the bear that I'm just passing through?
Peaceful. Okay, so arms, open, palms up, open. Hey,
buddy.
we're friends here. Like, I want to give him a hug kind of thing. Arms to the side, waist height. Hey, shrink my size down.
Okay.
It's mirror behavior. Mirror.
You're not dating the bear.
Well, you don't know how these things go. I've dated worse.
You can bring them to Christmas as long as they bring their own ants.
Yes.
So anyway, no. Largely,
Bees are
say try and
humming in the trees and making honey just for me. If you look under the rocks and plants and take a chance on the fancy ants and maybe even try a few,
I'm just gonna let this keep running.
the bare necessities of life will come to you.
He was a grey bear. What do you do for
Will
him?
come to you. If he's grey, you
Play.
are gay.
Oh my lord!
Be gay if it's a grey bear.
Gay for bears. That is a thing. Right. So it is probably worth doing the adult thing and saying, of all the things that I'm about to describe as attacking you, none of them will. Just leave them alone. They'll be fine. Don't bother them and you should be okay.
Yeah.
So the next thing, I'm going to give you two names because it gets confusing. Elk, also known as a moose.
History happened everywhere. Animals of Sweden. elk, also known as a moose.
So an elk is the British term.
Oh,
British English elk is a moose as North American would know it,
or Canadian.
or a Canadian. So your Bullwinkle J moose
Yeah.
is an elk in British English.
No way.
Yeah.
I always assumed they were just two forms of a very similar creature.
Well, they are in North America because there is an elk in North America that is a more deer-like deer.
Oh,
But when we in British English, but I think this is kind of starting to get old now because I actually think of moose as moose.
Yeah.
But yeah, in British English, elk, it refers to what most people know as a moose.
okay. Are the moose meese? The meeses?
Moose-
The mooses? Are the plural moose in Sweden as large as they are as the ones in Canada? Because I've seen YouTube videos of these things that are like 800 feet tall, rampaging through the woods there.
Well, yes, these guys are up to 850 kilos. This
Right.
is the size of a grand piano, or the weight of a grand
Or
piano.
3 bears.
These are big buggers. There are more moose in Sweden per square kilometre than anywhere else in the world. This is Moose Central, my friend.
So if I stood next to a moose, I mean, I would look like a tiny little thing, right? Probably
No, I don't think they're bigger than sort of horsey.
850 kilos. That's nearly a ton, right?
Yes.
So nearly an elephant size.
I need to check my sizings. I haven't got heights. I needed weights.
I just thought that elephants were roughly a ton.
That's a small elephant, surely.
Okay. On average. An average elephant is nearly a ton.
But yes,
That sounds like that needs to be fact checked.
yes, it does. It really does.
Okay.
I'm not sure how tall a moose is, but certainly they are big.
Okay.
They eat leaves and stuff. I think you probably could have guessed that.
Yeah.
The main predator of the moose is
Human.
Volvo.
Wait, what?
Cars. They get hit by cars a lot.
I thought this was like a new creature. I wasn't aware of.
Volvo.
I thought it was like a Wolverine when you said it. Like a little snarling. And I was like, oh, that's why they called the car after it. Because it's like an angry little creature that kills moose.
It's classic Swedish Volvo. Very rare sightings.
But you actually meant the car.
I meant the car. There's in 1992, about 13,000 moose were killed by cars.
Wow, okay.
Or the moose are very poor drivers. I don't know. Just says moose in road traffic accidents.
Oh, that's really sad though, isn't it?
Yeah, but there's a shed load of them because every year 100,000 of them are killed in the annual moose hunt.
100,000.
There's a lot of moose in Sweden.
Okay.
Now, question. What do you do if you're attacked by a moose?
Well, first thing I do, I try and make as much noise as possible. I try and make myself as large as possible.
You run. The moose is coming, you run.
Seriously, you
Yep.
see a moose, you just run.
You
There's
run,
no stopping it.
You run like hell. You try and hide behind a tree or get in a building if you can. They won't chase you very far because they're not that bothered. They're not predators. They just want to feel safe. So you leg it and then they'll feel safe and then you're done. If they do catch you, and this is going to be advice you're going to hear again,
Yeah.
get in a fetal position, cover your head with your arms. If you do try and move and beat it off, quote, it will only cause the moose to continue kicking and stomping you.
Oh, that means people have actually been kicked and stomped by a moose,
Kicked
right?
and stomped, yes. But easily avoided. They're herbivores, right? They don't want to fight. They want to go home and live their lives in peace.
Yeah, true.
So yeah, that's your moose. Now, let's talk lynx.
History happened everywhere. Animals of Sweden. The lynx.
Specifically the Eurasian lynx,
Okay.
Latin name lynx.
Really? Yeah. So good they named it twice.
It's a medium-sized wild cat with, fluffy ears, got little tufty ears, actually.
Super
lynx.
cute.
It's the biggest cat in Europe.
Really?
Yeah. A lynx weighs up to somewhere between 20 and 25 kilos. Mm-hmm. That, I know what you're thinking, that's 3/5 of a toilet.
Okay, it's quite heavy. Like toilets aren't light,
Right? They're not tiny creatures. In fact,
especially if it's like moving around, scrabbling at you,
Well, these
scratching
guys-
your face.
yeah, these guys eat deer. They'll take a reindeer down.
Wow.
Yeah. The tufts on the ears, nobody's quite sure what they do. Some people think it might be like a head whisker to
Right.
detect things above the head. Some people think it helps with the hearing, but nobody really knows.
I think it's a sexy thing.
Could be. It
Isn't
could
it
just
most
be
of
the
these
look of
things
it.
a sexy thing?
Could be sex selection.
Like if you're flashing your ear at someone from across the woods. Hey, yeah.
Hey, look at that. Hey.
Hey, look at my ears.
Look at the ears on that.
Lady. Do the ladies have the tufts too?
Yeah, they all got tufts.
Okay. Well, maybe it's a form of communication. You know, like...
Semaphore.
Semaphore, yeah. Just moving their ears around to relay certain bits of information.
Could be.
Well, we don't
Nobody
know.
knows.
No one will ever know.
So, question, Ryan.
How do I stop...
What do you do when you're
links?
attacked by lynx?
Do you know what? I think that one is what I was saying. Make myself big, lots of noise, shouting at it. And if it does attack me, go for the eyes.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So you did well. Do not run because a cat is a predator. It wants to chase. If you run,
if you turn your
it'll
back on it, it will
that's
go
going to
for
be
you.
you.
Yeah. They love that.
Yeah. Talk firmly and slowly back away.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I would imagine if it comes to it, go for the eyes. That's probably good advice.
Yeah.
But by then it's too late. I think that the lynx has got you. Okay. Lynx are over. The lynx are old news. We're taking to the skies now.
Okay.
Let's talk crows or ravens.
History happened everywhere. Animals of Sweden. The crows. Okay, yeah, mystical animals,
Right. Corvus corax.
right?
In Sweden.
You're just trying to curse me in a Harry Potter style way.
Corvus corax. Yes, that's the Latin name for your crow. In Sweden, ravens are known as the ghosts of murdered people.
Oh,
Odin had a pair of ravens, as we know,
you did.
and they were called Hugin, which is the Old Norse for thought,
Yeah.
and Munin, which is for memory or mind.
Also in an IKEA, now knife and fork.
Yes, IKEA bringing Norse mythology to the masses. Yeah, so they were Odin's ravens. They would fly around the world and spy on people for him and bring in all the news back to Odin.
Okay.
So, Ryan, what do
do
you
I
do
fend
if a
off?
crow or crows attacks you? You want to put a mask on. The reason the crow might be attacking you is because you pissed them off, and crows are super clever.
Okay.
So when researchers who are studying crows, because they're so clever, do things that are going to antagonize them, it's advisable to wear a mask because crows are so smart, they recognize you and remember you if you've annoyed them.
Wow. They
So-
hold a grudge, huh?
Exactly. They totally hold a grudge, right? So there's a biologist called John Marsluff, and basically he was testing crows for various responses to various adverse experiences.
Yeah.
And then when he would go out into the crow park,
Yeah.
they would like go swooping around him and going, "Ah, rah, 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 rah."
You.
And so when you wear a mask, they don't do that because they don't recognize you.
So they're smart enough to recognize you, but not smart enough to know that you're not wearing your face.
Yeah, they don't say, oh, that's that guy, same guy, I recognize his trousers in a mask. So you wear a mask when
There's something interesting
if
about
you're
that,
going
though,
to piss
isn't
a
it?
crow off, wear a mask. That's what I'm telling you, mate.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's worse than that because he would trap new crows. And when he found a new crow that he'd never annoyed, 26% of them after 2 weeks would fly around and crow at him like the others because they taught the new crows to hate this dude.
Who? The other people in his laboratory?
The other crows in his laboratory.
Wow, the other crows. So they're
3
passing
years
information between each other.
3 years after he trapped these new crows, 66% of them hated him.
So that implies a level of communication to quite an extent that they're able to describe what somebody looks like.
They're gone, that guy. Well, I suspect when he comes in, they're like, that fella.
Oh, okay. They're not
And then
like,
they're
well, he's got a
sketching him and
long,
It's like,
rosy
yeah.
complexion.
Kind of a heavy brow.
And you don't like this guy, you're saying.
Right, okay. So, yeah, you caw at him real big when he comes
Sure.
in.
And what did he do?
So these guys, the crows are super smart. They think they have the intelligence of like a 4-year-old child.
Okay, that's cool. I mean, most 4-year-olds are kind of crazy nutters, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're not known for being the brightest people in the world, but compared to like a dog, that's pretty impressive.
Sure.
They use tools. They
Collect silver, shiny, glittery
yeah, they
things.
collect shiny things, and they There's instances of people of reward behaviors as well. If you're nice to a crow, it'll bring you stuff. Or
you see,
sometimes they bring you stuff.
See all this talk of attacking animals and animals attacking us. We should remember that actually be nice to animals. They'll be nice to you.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, all of this attack business is for comedy purposes only, and these are good creatures that should be largely left alone.
Yeah, respected and adored for the fantastic creatures that they are.
Yes, absolutely. They're not fierce and terrifying. So next is the wolverine.
History happened everywhere. Animals of Sweden. The wolverine. Really? Wolverines in Sweden?
Wolverines in Sweden, yes. Gulo. It's a weasel.
Is it?
Yeah, wolverine is the largest member of the weasel family.
Okay, I thought it was like a wolf-type fox hybrid thing.
Right? Because you think the name makes you think it's wolfy, right? But it's not. It's a weasel.
Yeah.
It's a big, scary weasel.
Okay.
So it's
Tenacious.
Tenacious. It's got the sort of stocky, powerful, short legs with wide feet for travelling along the snow.
Yeah.
So I think of honey badgers when I see wolverines.
Actually, do you know what? That's what I would have been thinking of, is more like a badger.
Yeah, it's kind of badgery. It's good at climbing trees and it can swim well. So basically, there's no getting away from this guy. If he's coming for you, you're in trouble. About knee high, maybe thigh high.
That's quite big.
Yeah, I mean,
you're talking big badger, right?
Yeah, if you're thinking badger, they're sort of that heavy set kind of creature, aren't they?
Yeah.
They like to eat small prey, rabbits and rodents. Sometimes attack big things. They'll have a go at a caribou if it looks a bit wonky.
Were the Vikings just leaving these guys alone? Like,
Wolverines don't. Wolverines particularly.
It's not a food source, is it?
Aren't going to attack you. So if something's not going to attack you or feed you, you're probably just not bothered with it.
Well, unless it's a pest.
Well, there is a bit, and there is some value to them as well. So the fur of a wolverine, weirdly specifically, is used to line parka hoods. Historically, I'm sure it's done today in some places, but not a parka you buy in the market
really,
for
so the
£18.
The fur that lines your hood in those coats. Okay,
So apparently the reason given for this, and there was some debate in the stuff I was reading, but the reason given is that it's an oily fur that repels water, so you don't get a lot of frozen crystals. So that's why it's specifically the hood.
Oh, right.
You're probably interested in the anal scent glands.
Oh, I was waiting for you to get to the anal sex glands.
Right.
Of the Vikings or of the Wolverines?
This is a wolverine's anal scent glands.
Okay. When are we going to get to the Vikings' anal glands? Because
we might run out of time. I'm nervous, but let's see how it goes. They can create a foul-smelling yellow fluid from their anal scent glands. Territory marking stuff. They mate in summer, but here's an interesting wolverine fact for you. When a female gets pregnant, they can delay pregnancy. So they can have the egg fertilized, but unless they are in a place with the right resources, that egg won't implant. So it won't implant until the conditions are right, basically.
And okay, so there's presumably a period of time.
I think there's a time limit on it. Yeah. So in a season, you can mate in summer, but then not be pregnant.
Evolution's astonishing, isn't it? You think that would have caught on elsewhere?
I'm sure there's other creatures that do it, but it's the first time I'd come across it.
Yeah,
so
not heard of that before.
I'm not going to ask you about the wolverine attack.
Oh, come on.
Okay. What do you do in the event of a wolverine attack?
I don't know.
Nobody does. It's never happened.
All right, moving on. Do their claws retract?
I don't think so, but they are quite Wolverine-y in the Marvel sense. Big, sharp, curved claws like a badger. Yeah, I don't think they're retractable.
Okay. Comics, again, letting us down.
I know, right? And yet another lie. Right. It's time to talk beaver, Ryan.
History happened everywhere. Animals of Sweden. The beaver.
Somewhere between 11 and 30 grams, so 3 bowling balls to a beaver.
Wow, that's amazing.
They're pretty heavy, right?
I would have said a bowling ball.
Yeah, I would have thought something like that.
Bowling balls are heavy.
They're not mucking about, these guys. So, beaver teeth are orange.
Too much carrots.
No, they're actually filled with iron. They've got a lot of iron. So they're super tough, obviously, because they eat trees. Obviously, we know about beavers making dams and living in lodges. Useful for their fur. So they like a bit of beaver fur. That's quite good for various clothing.
And meat?
Apparently, they're quite tasty. I can't remember where I read that. But yeah, they're eaten, they're furry, they're quite useful in general. They're really good to have around, though, because a beaver likes to fish in a pond. So it creates a pond with its dam.
Yeah.
But that's actually quite good ecologically because that filters out a lot of the crud from rivers and it helps encourage various fish types. So actually it's quite good news to have beavers in terms of your local ecology. So Ryan, what do you do if you're attacked by a beaver?
Oh, man. I give it a big old cuddle and scratch its head.
Yeah, you're probably all right with a beaver, although actually there at least one time a beaver has killed a person.
Killed a person?
Yeah, a 60-year-old fisherman in Belarus died in 2013 when a beaver bit open an artery in his leg.
Oh my God.
But basically, when a beaver thinks you're getting a bit too close, he'll flap his tail up and down on the water.
Right.
So if you're seeing a flappy-tailed beaver, just walk away.
Just walk away.
You should be all right.
Okay.
I'm going to leave with just one final animal. Canis lupus.
Wolves.
Exactly, the wolf.
History happened everywhere. Animals of Sweden. The wolf.
Somewhere between 35 and 55 kilos, so most of a beer keg.
Yeah.
They eat beer and stuff and they run around in packs. But Ryan, the only question I'm really interested in is, Ryan, what do you do if you're attacked by a wolf?
Oh, in my case, panic, roll up into a ball and let them eat me.
Not bad. The first thing to not do is run. Don't run. Again, it's predators. Predators like to chase things. It kicks their little primal brain into action and
Now
they will get
work
you.
in packs.
Don't stare at it either. It doesn't like that.
Okay.
It'll look like a threat. Don't turn your back. It will make you look delicious. Make yourself scary. Actually go big, shout, raise your arms, go, rah, bugger off, wolf.
Yeah.
And then if necessary, curl into a ball and cry while they eat you.
Yeah. I think I'll just jump straight to that last one.
So wolf-wise, the berserkers that we talked about, berserkers, there was a kind of wolf equivalent.
Wolfzerker.
Berserkers. I don't have the name here because it was really hard to pronounce. But yeah, there's wolf berserkers, as you say.
Which implies then that they were wearing wolf.
Yeah, that's the
outfits,
idea.
right?
There was bear nutters and wolf crazy people. And
Just on a side note, how do you think you would fare on a Viking warfield? How long do you think you'd last? Like transport you now. You got no
in a battle?
Yeah. So like you find yourself right now in a Viking battle. Someone gives you a sword and a shield.
I think I'd start off pretty well because I suspect I'm a lot bigger than a lot of them.
Okay.
Because people were smaller back in those days, weren't
Yeah,
they? So
true.
I'd be pretty hefty compared to them.
Yeah.
And then as soon as matters of skill came into play, such as the very first
strength.
sweep of a sword, I think that would be game over for me.
So you think less than 20 minutes?
Unless I think I've got somewhere between 3 and 10 minutes to convince them I'm a wizard using my technology to scare them off. Other than that, I'm in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. I figure in a battle, you've got a window of maybe 10 minutes.
Because 10 minutes of swinging a sword without anyone on the other end of it, I don't think I'd be exhausted
Tiring, right?
at the end of that.
Yeah. I mean, I figure most of that 10 minutes is panic, followed by retreat, followed by being slashed in the face.
Yeah, that sounds like a reasonable summary of my battlefield experience. But wolf-wise, the reason I wanted to end on the wolf was because the universe ends with a wolf. Fenrir, the son of Loki, gigantic monstrous wolf in Viking mythology.
Yeah.
He was tied to a rock, doomed to stay there, chained up until Ragnarok, Doomsday.
Yeah.
And he's going to break his bonds and he's going to fall upon the gods and he will devour the sun and probably eat Odin as well. And that will be the end of the world. It starts with a bang and ends with a wolf.
Yeah. That's awesome. It does sound like a 6-year-old child trying to tell me a story, though. and then there's a rock, and there's a wolf, and there's a wolf.
It eats the sun.
It's going to eat everything. Yeah.
So we've had fun about protecting yourself from animal attacks, but obviously we know that actually wild creatures, when left alone, are not likely to attack you. In fact, they're more afraid of you, and you're more likely to cause them harm than they are to cause you harm. In fact, though, there is one creature that kills one person a year in Sweden. What do you think, Ryan, is the most deadly creature?
It's going to be
in
human,
Sweden?
isn't it? It's going to be the humans.
Not including humans.
Oh.
Or Volvos.
It's going to be like the mosquito or something, isn't it?
Very close. The bee or the wasp. Bees and wasps
No way.
kill a person a year in Sweden, which is more than your wolverines, your bears, your beavers all combined.
Okay. I mean, angry little bees they've got.
I think one person here, it's allergies. You're allergic to a bee sting and a bee stings you, then you may well die.
Yeah.
How do you defend yourself from a bee?
I've seen this. You get the queen bee and you put it on your chin, and then the bees stop attacking you and gather around the queen, and you have a very cool...
That's one of the more
beard.
flamboyant defences against bees, to be honest with you. I was just thinking, just walk away, really. It's just a bee.
Oh.
Just have to wear a big net.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, just wear a big net.
Job done.
Messenger, what news from the battlefront? Have we yet vanquished the Vikings from our land?
Grave news, I fear, sire. The Vikings have deployed berserkers to the field.
Berserkers? Well then surely victory shall be ours, for last year we beat the Berserkers back to their own country easily.
You mishear me, I fear, sire. They have deployed berserkers.
Berserkers? Not their fiercest warriors named after the spirit creature of the animal that kills more people in Sweden than all other creatures combined.
Exactly so, sire. They're instilling terror in the men. They've already started panicking.
Picnicking? Picnicking? Well, this is no time to picnic.
No, not picnicking, sire.
Look, no matter. We've practiced for this. We know what to do. Release our own bee warriors.
More bad news, sire. They're just swinging clumsily. They're not ready for this. They're dropping their weapons all over the place.
Wait, you're saying they're...
That's right, sire. They're fumblebees.
All right, Pete, look, I can't watch this anymore. I've had enough.
Well, what did you expect, Ryan? It's just a bee movie.
Beautiful.
So that, sir, is my efforts at describing nature, specifically in a 100-year period in the rather beautiful country of Sweden.
That was great. I feel like I'm prepared to take on nature at its Swedish worst.
If nothing else, I
best.
like to think I've given you some survival tips that will help extend your life in the event of any number of animal attacks.
Yeah.
So it's time this week to return to the Durslater, see what she throws up. I think I've called her a she now. I've decided Durslater is a she. Like a good ship.
Okay. The good ship Durslater.
Yes, let's see what the good ship Durslater throws up this week. Okay, Ryan, your country is Indonesia.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm happy with that. That's fine.
There's a lot of Indonesia. It's a big place.
Big place, lots of history.
Your time period is... Oh, well, I mean, you should be comfortable here. This is 1930 to 1940. I think we had
I've done
exactly
this one.
that. We had it. There was that exactly the same as Guyana.
I think it was the same. Yeah, I think Guyana was during... Was it, or was that 20 to 30? Maybe that was 20 to 30.
Wasn't far off it, was it?
Well, I did Central African Republic as well,
You
which
just
was
keep
around
coming
that
back
time.
to this decade, don't you?
Yeah, early 1900s. Anyway,
Okay, so
cool.
Indonesia, 1930 to 1940, and your topic is travel.
Okay, what does that mean?
I'm not sure. You tell me next week on...
Okay. All right, let's find out. I'm perplexed. But
That's
That's always a good sign that it's going to be a great one.
Yeah, you're neither excited nor disappointed, are you? There's probably something there. You just don't know, right? That's the point.
So travel in Indonesia from 1930 to 1940.
Correct, sir. Well, I wish you the very best of luck. Happy hunting. Hope you find something interesting, because I'm going to have to listen to it.
You are. That's true. Okay, well, I'm on it. I'll be back here this time next week on... History happened everywhere. Thanks for listening to History Happened Everywhere. I'm Ryan and he's Pete. And if you want to get in touch with either of us, you can do that through hhepodcast@gmail.com.
Or you can use HHE Podcast in any of the usual social media.
That's right. And, if you did enjoy the show and you're enjoying it, let's help spread the word, get more people coming, and you can do that by rating and reviewing at your podcast provider.
We'd love to hear what you think, as long as it's nice.
Yeah, please be nice. Be nice. We're very sensitive.